So, I bought a Corvette. I definitely plan to make a video on this, driving it, but as you can see, I got the car in the air, so we gotta fix something on it. So first I'll show you guys this interior. It's black leather seats. I feel like they were all black leather, or there was a red option. I'm not too sure. I don't know that much about Corvettes, I just know I wanted one. It is a 4+3 speed manual. It's in pretty good condition, no cracks on the dash. The only bad thing about the interior is this trim's a little loose, not bolted in or whatever happened. And then there's some tearing on the driver's seat. Other than that, the interior's pretty good. So now I'll tell you what's wrong with it. In the middle of the night, driving home on the freeway, the clutch went out, left me stranded, and I just bought a car. And about a month later, clutch goes out. No signs of the clutch going bad. While I would test drove it, while I bought the car, it just went out. So unlucky. But today, or over the course of a week or so, we're gonna figure out how to drop the transmission, put a new clutch in here. Now, I've never done a job like this before, and I wanted to get the car as high as possible in the air and as safe as possible. I got 4 6-ton jack stands all the way around. I got a pair of 3-ton jack stands as backups just in case. I got my 1.5 tons under the front wheels just in case. I got my jack here attached to the steering rack, whatever that frame thing is. And it's all on cement blocks to give me room to get up there. So I think the car's pretty safe. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on pulling the transmission out to get the clutch replaced. First things first, I'm gonna disconnect the battery down in here. Just gonna take off the negative cable, just because this car's gonna be down for a while. Don't want to drain the battery. Don't want to risk any sort of electrical problems. Just a safe, good idea. Man, it smells so bad, like clutch. Yeah, it's just everywhere coming. Oh man. I can't wait to see how bad the clutch looks. Also, you can see I'm a little low on fluid. I'm not sure which one of these is clutch, but a little low, probably because something's worn. Alright, after some time, my hands are extremely filthy, but we got the white pipe and the cat out. I'll show you a quick glance. Hopefully you guys can see. You can't see, but you can kind of see there's a ton of tools. It took a while, and I broke off this little air hose thing for the emissions, but I'll just be able to patch that up with another hose. Man, this was a lot of work. Alright, now it's also really late, so whenever I get a chance, I'll do whatever's the next step. Alright, it is currently about 1,000,000 degrees outside. We still got the white pipe with the exhaust off. That's where I left off. And then since I last worked on the car, I picked up this Haynes manual. It's pretty cool. It tells me everything I need to know. And then I picked up this transmission jack from Harbor Freight. And basically we're really close to pulling this transmission out. So let's see what I gotta do now. Alright, so Haynes manual says I need to remove the distributor cap. So took off this little plate of plenum. I'm gonna keep looking up what I gotta do, but I know when the transmission's out and it's gonna rotate a little, I think it's just to not damage this. Alright, finally got the distributor cap off. It took a little bit, but here we go. Here's a little plenum cover. This is some sort of cover, and then here's the actual distributor cap. Now I can move back onto the transmission page. Here it is. So we got the short cap, the TV cable, throttle valve cable on the throttle body. So let me go do a little bit of research and figure out which cable is that. Okay, so what's called the throttle valve cable just clips in there, but it basically is just the throttle cable. All right, next up. Okay, so back under the car. Looks like step 8 of the Haynes manual says there's this exhaust hanger. This was what the catalytic converter was being supported on. So there's some bolts up here, 2 of them. They look pretty nasty, so I'm gonna spray some WD-40 on it real quick, get that off. And then my next plan is to drain the fluid in the manual transmission. The Haynes manual doesn't actually tell you to, but in the installation it says to, which, you know, is kind of weird. So I think I'm just gonna drain it. Don't know what the fluid's like. It'll make it lighter anyways. It's probably worth it. I think the drain thing's right here if I had to guess. And here's the overdrive unit. Different story, not gonna worry about that yet. So take these off, drain the fluid. Best tool ever, ratcheting wrench. Okay, so in the Haynes manual, it shows this manual transmission has 2 plugs. This is for checking. This is for that's for draining, checking, draining. And I'm sure that's checking and filling. So let's go look under the transmission and make sure we got those, which we do. Alright, right here you just saw the picture. Now here's what they actually look like. This is the draining, and the check and the fill is up here. They don't look like bolts, they look like you just put on a 1/2-inch socket, whatever that's called. This may make a mess, so whatever. Now my plan is to only drain the manual transmission part, not the overdrive unit. I would think the overdrive unit fluid only works in that, because when I pull the drive shaft, fluid may or may not leak out. If it does, whatever, like it shouldn't be much. So that's my plan, just drain this out. Alright, I got a 15mm wrench on the square head. I already broke it loose. Still kind of tight though. Yeah, I'm gonna need 2 hands, but basically that's how you do it. I got my drain pan here. There it is. No, it didn't seem like there was that much. Alright, I assume this is a magnet, because the oil was a magnet. There's a lot of like gunk, like it feels kind of like a RTV silicone sort of thing. I can't really tell if it's metal or not. Yeah, it looks like there's a screen on here. I don't know. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, it's definitely magnetic, sticking to the dryer. But really nothing too crazy, no metal chunks, so at least transmission's fine. Alright. All the connectors are off. I think there's only 4. Yeah. Let me get a little closer and show you what happened. A bug just flew at me, so I'm a little on edge. But this is the 2nd gear sensor for the overdrive unit, and it literally broke in half, it looks like. And the overdrive has always been engaged. I think that's the problem, why it's always been stuck and engaged.
so I might need to order that sensor. I'm going to do a little bit of research, but even if I have to order it, I have no idea how to take that out. It looks like I can pull out some bolts. Maybe it comes out that way, but still. Put the drain bolt back on. You can't see it, but it's on. I disconnected the shift arm things. I don't know what they're called. They were held on by these little clips and washer. So I just used my little screwdriver as a little pick and just pried it out. Alright, got the throttle cable disconnected from the overdrive unit. It fits in the hole back here where it was in. It was just one single 10mm bolt. I can't really show you, but the way it connects is, if you can see the tiny hole in there, it's like a little T thing or something. It just slides in there, so you just gotta pop it out. The check port for make sure there's enough fluid in there. So basically the fluid should be right to the very top of this little transmission pan. This is where all the fluid is. You can see the transmission lines. These are for the overdrive unit, the cooler. They are just above the line, so I think undo these, put a little bag over them, keep them pointed up. Shouldn't lose that much fluid. But other than that, I just gotta remove those, and then we're ready to start doing more serious stuff like the drive shaft and the whatever that frame piece is. It's a new day. Got a lot of wrenches here, and we got the transmission, the overdrive unit fluid lines. This is for the cooler. They are disconnected. It is draining out of the top of the overdrive unit. Looks like it stopped though. I'm not going to drain all the fluid. I'm not going to change the filter. I'm just going to do the top because this fluid actually didn't look that bad. So I'll just have to top it off. I'm going to bag up this line, and then the two lines are good. Everything's disconnected from the transmission as far as I can tell. And then it's time to start getting serious and pretty close to pulling this transmission out. So while it's dripping out, I'm just taking a rag and I'm wiping off all this grease, oil. A lot of it's oil. I'm trying to just clean all this up. I'm going to take some brake clean and just get as much of this as clean as possible while I'm here. Alright, so we just have 2 steps left before we can unbolt the transmission from the engine. So we gotta remove this driveline support beam. Based off of this, there's 4 bolts. I need a wrench on one end, otherwise the bolt's just gonna spin. And as soon as I remove the driveline support beam, I can take out the drive shaft, and then I'm good from there. So I got the transmission jack supported onto the transmission right now. So all I got now, do this driveline support beam, 2 bolts here, 2 bolts here at the diff area, and they need a wrench on the back side, which, I mean, there's hardly any room to get to it, so I'm gonna have to get creative. Hopefully I have the right tools to get this done. So I decided on removing the drive shaft. So you can see there's the bolts there, 5/16 or 8mm. So I'm just putting it on. I already loosened them, so. And then with the drive shaft, you just put it in neutral, take the parking brake off to rotate it to get to the other 2 bolts on the other side. Not too bad. But after this, I gotta tackle the C-beam, which is gonna be a bit harder. Alright, I just pulled out the drive shaft. I'm gonna get on the other side and show you guys. So the Haynes manual says to pull the C-beam, the driveline support beam, otherwise known as the C-beam. You can see the input shaft here, or actually the output shaft to the diff over there. So I showed you how I got the bolts out, and then to pull it out I just brought it this way towards the driver's side, and because this is a little C shape, it was able to fit out on that side. Now I already marked the drive shaft, top of it, so I know what side is up on here. So I'm just gonna mark the output shaft here, just as another reminder. Now I do have the engine supported from the oil pan, transmission jack, and transmission right now. I'm going to remove these two bolts for the C-beam. I got better access to the top now, so I'm thinking if I get those out, I can push it out to the side. Maybe I don't even need to take off the whole C-beam, because I hear that's a pain to put in. We'll see. Alright, just got one of the bolts off. You can see on the transmission side, it's a massive bolt with a nut on the end. Sinks in there like that. So it came out no problem. Transmission lifted, so it comes out straight at a good angle. Now I'm gonna get this bolt out, and hopefully I can like wiggle this thing. I have a feeling I'm gonna need to take out the ones, two in the diff area back there. Oh yeah. So I got the two bolts here out for the C-beam at the transmission side. This can wiggle, but it's not gonna break free. There's this bulky thing right here, so this piece is gonna need to go. I'm gonna need to take off the two bolts in the back, unfortunately. They are much tighter than these front ones are, so that's gonna be a struggle. But other than that, then it's just the 4 transmission to the engine bolts, and then it's ready to come out. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to take these last 2 bolts out real quick. And luckily I was worried about taking the bolts out and this thing falling on me, because it's a C shape. It kind of hooks onto whatever its edge is. Like this side's the transmission, that side's like the diff area. So not too bad. I don't need to worry for my life. Just dropped the back half, the axle back of the exhaust, actually from the cat back of the exhaust, because the bolts for the C-beam under there were actually, like, I couldn't get to them without taking off this part, so it's off. Gotta find room in my garage for this, and then I can start taking off those C-beam bolts again. So the back for the C-beam, they were 22s instead of 19s that were in the front. This side, a lot tighter, hardly any room to get a wrench up there, but it is possible. Bolts are off. Now this thing will be able to pop out, and I gotta push it to the passenger side of the car, which is that way. Alright, got all the bolts out for the C-beam. Now the C-beam is pretty difficult to get out. It fights you, it gets stuck up on the hinges, but all you really need to do is push it out, get it as far to the passenger side as possible. So for the Haynes manual, over here, it just says support transmission, remove the 4 bolts to the clutch housing, or I guess the bell housing is what I've always known it as. But as you can see here, here's the input shaft. There's no big bell housing attached to it. And then in the clutch section, it said the same thing, to remove the clutch housing once the transmission is out of the way. So I guess Corvette's weird. But alright, there's only 4 bolts right in the center area. Not too bad. Alright, so on the driver's side, here's the 2 bolts. There's one here, one up there. Get real close to it. So they're not like, well, I guess maybe they are regular hex heads, but they have this weird thing on the inside. Looks like maybe a Torx thing on the inside. So let me see if I have a socket that will work for this. So it's a 19 head on it.
I'm just gonna use that instead of whatever that Torx thing is, if it even is a Torx. So this is how I got one of the bolts in, so now let me try to break this one up. Well, I was using the Harbor Freight extension that comes in their little mechanics toolkit. This one, what happened? That's crazy. Alright, well, gotta use my other extensions, I guess. So after you guys saw my extension just broke, finally got the bolt out. I had to use my impact gun with the little extension. Up there you can see, loosening the very last bolt, holding the transmission to the engine. Okay, so I got my transmission jack. It's been holding it. Right here you can see the input shaft. I'm just fighting it. It needs to clear, go straight back, and then I can drop it down. Here it is, all taken out. I'm gonna roll it out from the car to get a better look at it. Here we go. This is the transmission, the 4+3 Doug Nash transmission. You can see this section is the 4-speed manual. So as you can see, this is where the 4 bolts go to this bell housing, or GM calls it the clutch housing. Man, it stinks like clutch. I smell it everywhere. I would think that's what this material is, but I mean, the outside of that throwout bearing just looks absolutely trash. I can't wait to get this apart and see what it really looks like. You can see a good amount of wear. Let's see a little bit of the clutch on the inside. You can just only see the springs, not really the material. But wow. It's absolutely filthy in here. Now this video has taken me about a week to record. I've been working non-stop for the past 7 days. This is my first day off. So I got about 10 hours put in of labor getting the transmission out. Not bad. First time doing anything like this. It's gonna be a lot faster putting it back in. It's really not that hard. I just took my time to be safe, learn a lot as it goes. So you'll have to watch next video. I'll be dissecting the old clutch, tearing it apart, seeing how trash it really is, and putting the new one on. That's it for this video. Me taking the transmission out on my 1985 Corvette. And thanks for watching.